Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. This is the Smackdown review show, which I'm calling Good Friends, Better Enemies. We'll get into the reasons why as we roll through this week's episode of Smackdown, which started with the Viper, Randy Orton, back after doing some business on Raw, and wanted to talk to Cody because Cody had agreed to team with Roman Reigns this coming Saturday at Bad Blood against the Bloodline, and he kind of wanted an explanation. Cody, of course, agreed to that, and he even said he looks a bit of a fool teaming with Roman Reigns, but then he said to Randy, would you rather be the fool or rather be the coward? He said Roman Reigns looked him in the eye and he said that he gave me his word and he'll have his back. Well, there we go. And whether or not and I think we're okay there. I cannot see Roman Reigns, you know, turning on Cody. I can understand where Randy's coming from on this. Obviously, the bloodline, everything, everything that's happened with Randy Orton and perhaps Kevin Owens here as well. Cody then said to Randy Orton, I hope it's not a problem for you. And Randy Orton said, it's not a problem unless you make it a problem. So, not a problem unless you make it a problem. Now, here's the thing. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, for that matter, both have history of turning on their friends. It's been done many a times during their careers in the WWE. Randy obviously has turned. People like Edge, one of his closest friends, when Edge come back last time, turned on Edge. They had the quote unquote greatest wrestling match of all time, or not, depending on what way you look at it. But Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, you look at Sami Zayn had involvement with the bloodline. So, this is where the good friends, better enemies come in. This is where it's, are we going with that? But anyway, they were actually interrupted by Solo Sikoa as well. And obviously Kevin Owens was in the ring as well. And this is another thing. Kevin Owens very upset with Cody Rhodes for teaming with Roman Reigns at Bad Blood. And they were talking about having a tag team match on SmackDown, and Cody was like, "Why a tag team? There's three of us in this ring." Which then prompted the Kevin Owens rebuttal and says, "Look, actually, no offense, but you've got your tag match against the Bloodline at Bad Blood. This is me and Randy." So it's interesting, Kevin Owens distancing himself for working with Cody Rhodes, still obviously not happy. And obviously, Cody did beat him as well at the last pay-per-view. So there is, well, not the last, maybe the one before last, sorry. There is a lot going on with Kevin, Roman, and Cody, and Randy, and the bloodline. So Bad Blood's shaping up to be interesting there. We'll get into more, excuse me, about there is more to the fuel to the fire of Cody, Kevin, and Randy a bit later on SmackDown. But an interesting start. Seemingly cracks appearing in the Orton and Rhodes relationship. The cracks were already there for Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, but now Randy Orton as well. And it doesn't bode too well at this minute in time. Anyway, back to another good friends, better enemies situation. And we see Nia Jax talking to Tiffany Stratton at the back. Now remember, Nia is the women's champion. Tiffany does indeed have the Miss Money in the Bank briefcase. And they started saying, and Tiffany was like, she doesn't understand why Bailey and Naomi are having a number one contenders match. And then she asks if Tiffany can explain it to her. Nia grabs Tiffany by the throat, and Tiffany apologizes for losing the match last week. And Nia does say that if this ends bad for her, it's going to be really bad for Tiffany. Now, as she leaves, Tiffany has a very angry look on her face. I don't think it's going to be much longer before we see the Miss Money in the Bank briefcase used. It could well be as early as this coming Saturday at Bad Blood, of course, and we'll get to that match in a minute because there's a number one contendership match between Bailey and Naomi. very, very shortly, and we'll get to that. But I got a feeling, a slight suspicion, if it doesn't happen at Bad Blood, it will 100% happen before the end of the year, in my opinion, that Tiffany Stratton will successfully as well cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase. But tension between them. There's even more tension coming up in the match between Bayley and Naomi because they're friends, but they're going for one goal, which is the Women's Championship, and only one of them can claim the number one contendership. So we'll get to that. The first thing they did announce, though, was that SummerSlam 2025 will take place at the MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. WrestleMania has been there, and it will be the first ever two-night SummerSlam. Number one, why the fuck did you not bring that over to the UK? But in all seriousness, I'm not sure SummerSlam needs to be two nights. I can get. I've just got my head around WrestleMania, and I can understand. I get it. I can just about get my head around WrestleMania being two nights, and I've just started to get used to it. The Royal Rumble, I could see them doing that because you have the two main events already done. You have the men and the women's Royal Rumble, which could effectively main event both nights. You have the women's one night one and the men's one night two. I could understand that. There is a logical reason for having the Royal Rumble two nights. Again, I don't think it's needed, but if they said the Royal Rumble was going two nights, I could understand it. There's a logical expectation, logical reason for that. Survivor Series and SummerSlam are the two other big ones, the big four. Survivor Series being War Games makes zero sense being two nights unless, and again, they haven't, I don't think they've done this yet, unless they do a men and a women's War Games. I think they've done that on NXT. NXT War Games, I'm pretty sure, had a men and a women's one. But the WWE, I don't think have done it yet. And I could totally understand them doing a two-night Survivor Series with, again, War Games main event in both nights. SummerSlam doesn't have like a special attraction that needs two nights. So I am a little bit confused. And, again, it might just be me needing to get my head around the whole two-night thing again. I just don't understand it. I don't get why it's needed. But nevertheless, August the 2nd and 3rd from MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, SummerSlam, two nights beginning in 2025. Now let's get to the first match of the evening. It was the number one contenders match between Bayley and Naomi, good friends, better enemies. A really good women's match. I think this has been both of these girls' best matches in a while. These two work really well together. It was a good showcase of the women's wrestling and the women on SmackDown. It's been a while, and Naomi hasn't really. She was in TNA as Trinity. She won the championship. She was a big star in TNA. Coming back to the WWE, and initially, it was like coming back to the WWE at the Royal Rumble was always difficult to do. It's something that I wouldn't recommend returning or coming back at Royal Rumble because you're stuck in the middle or you're stuck between the Rumble and WrestleMania unless you do something big at the Royal Rumble, you eliminate somebody, with a name value, or if Naomi had eliminated Bayley, I know she was going for the championship. I know, so it's a bit of a wrong example to use, but you kind of understand where I'm coming from. Unless you return and you eliminate someone that sets up a storyline later on that leads into WrestleMania, you're pretty much filler. However, she's been kind of filler for nearly a year, Naomi, now, and it's great to have her back. Don't get me wrong. She's a great competitor. And I don't think that we've seen the best of her in WWE. And I don't think they've positioned her correctly in the WWE since she's come back. I would like to see what happens with Naomi going forward. And I would like to see her in the title picture. It won't be a Bad Blood low because Bayley did indeed connect with a flying elbow drop to pick up the hard-earned victory in a very good back and forth match. And again, it did showcase Naomi's skill as much as it showcased Bayley's. I'm just a little I just think they've dropped the ball with Naomi a bit. And when she come back, I mean, there was the bloodline was still a thing. You know, there was always talk about adding a woman member to the bloodline. Naomi or Nia could have fallen into that category. Even Ava from NXT could have fallen into that category, although she's now taken more of a general manager-ish role over there. So, yeah, I just feel as if they forgot about Naomi a little bit. And yeah, I feel as if they've let her down a little bit. That's just my opinion. That is just my opinion anyway. And what's my opinion between friends, right? But anyway, Bailey picks up the victory, and this Saturday will go on to face Nia Jax for the Women's Championship. We go backstage at this point. Andrade El Idolo runs into LA Knight, and he said he had no problem losing to LA Knight last week. But when he comes from, you show respect to your opponent. And he has a lot of respect for for LA, sorry, as Carmelo Hayes delivers a blindside shot to LA Knight and then tells Andrade to bring it, which sets up the 4,000th match between Carmelo Hayes and LA Knight. I'm slightly exaggerating. It's probably 5 or 6. I think it's actually 6 between these two. And again, they just have so much chemistry. LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes and Andrade. It just works. They're just two guys that you can put into the ring and it just works. It really does. And they had another long match. Um, and it just works. It does just work between the two. Carmelo Hayes did get extracted by LA Knight during this match. But the ending was when Carmelo Hayes shoved Andrade into LA Knight. But he does pick, and then Carmelo Hayes rolls up Andrade to pick up the victory. LA Knight did try and shake hands with Andrade at the end. Andrade walks out of the ring. Didn't shake his hand. Triple threat match for the title seems a good pick on here. Now it is 3-all in the series between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, so we could perhaps get the 7th match, the rubber match, so to speak, which could have turned out to be a number 1 contenders match for the US Championship. Who knows? It could well turn into that way of thinking, and it probably would. I could see that happening. Maybe on the 7th match they do a double pin or a double count out, and they both get a chance to take on LA Knight. Or, and again, whilst I've been thinking and we've been talking about this, I've seen, I've had a little thought in my head, and they don't last long, these thoughts, so I have to be quick. Is it possible that Andrade and Carmelo Hayes form together, not necessarily a match against LA Knight, but come together as a team? Maybe Andrade turns heel. I think Andrade does his best work as a heel. Again, my opinion. I think he does. And I think that would work. Carmelo and Andrade could work as a team on there. But yeah, it's an interesting thought in my head. Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, would they come together as a team? Interesting one to think about. Backstage at this point, Kevin Owens was with Randy Orton. Cody Rhodes come in. And Kevin Owens doesn't want any help from Cody Rhodes in the main event. He said now is not the time to address the brewing problems between them. And Kevin Owens leaves, and Randy disagrees. And Randy said he would love for Cody to help if the numbers game gets too much in the main event. Well, it is generally would be a 4-on-3 situation. So Cody's help to make it 4-on-3 would work, and I could understand why Randy would want him at ringside, or at least want him to help should the numbers game start to carp on him. Another new thing, or another thing returning to our screens on December the 14th from Long Island, New York, Saturday night's main event is back. I used to love that as a kid when we used to have Sky. And we used to get some sort of highlights. I think we ever got it. We never got it live. We got the old. They brought it back mid 2000s, 2004, 5, something like that. Randy Orton RKO'd Hulk Hogan on the hood of the car during that feud between two. They brought it back, and it's coming back again. I'm really looking forward. I like Saturday Night Main Event. Rumor has it, and again, this is just a rumor at this stage, but rumor has it, Jesse the Body Ventura will be a commentator on Saturday night's main event. I used to love Jesse Ventura as a commentator. in wrestling. I thought he was great. I thought he was a great character as well. I really enjoyed. Yeah, it was mainly the back end of his career that I caught, and more into the commentary style of Jesse, but loved it. Thought it was great, and I'll be looking forward to having him back in the commentary booth, maybe with Michael Cole or Corey Graves or something like that. But Jesse Ventura could be returning to Saturday night's main event when it comes back on December the 14th from Long Island, New York. Speaking of comebacks, a man coming back to SmackDown this coming Friday before Bad Blood, the phenomenal AJ Styles will be coming back this Friday on SmackDown. I am looking forward to it, but I just feel like he hasn't got a match at Bad Blood. So would it be a better thing for him to do to come back the week after and start something, or is he going to put his feelers out to where he's thinking? The other thing to take into consideration here, and it's something again that's just come into my little light bulb going off in my head, is TNA Bound for Glory is at the end of October. AJ Styles returns to SmackDown this coming week. Is he going to set his sights perhaps on coming into TNA and doing something at Bound for Glory? I don't know. I was hoping that you guys might know. No, joking. But in all seriousness, is something going to happen with AJ Styles in TNA? Who is he going to get his sights on? I don't really know. He's had his matches with Cody, potentially Randy Orton. Potentially, I could see that happen. I don't know if he's going to be heel or face for one. So we'll see this week. But I am looking forward to seeing AJ Styles back on the blue brand. He's very, very good, and I hope there's something meaningful for him, because we know contract situation. We've talked a lot about contracts on shows recently, and contracts on shows and contracts in the WWE are coming up. Kevin Owens, AJ Styles is another one. Those contracts, and we thought last time that Styles was gonna his sort of last contract was going to be his last contract, so to speak, unless he re-signed. Obviously, we know AEW would love AJ Styles, AEW would love Kevin Owens, and we are seeing a lot of moves. And I could honestly see AJ Styles in AEW. I really could. I think that where he is in WWE, and again, I said this about Kevin Owens last week. The safe bet is to stay where you are. Right? Kevin Owens probably knows he ain't going to win a world title again in WWE. As in the heavyweight championship, he could win in the Continental Tag Team US. World title, unlikely. So he probably knows that. He knows he'll get paid well in a WWE. There's no doubt about it. And he'll get paid well at AEW. It's whether he wants to try something new. And that's the same with AJ Styles. Whether AJ Styles, at this stage of his career, does he want that one more big run? Does he want that opportunity for world championships again? I think AEW could offer him that. I don't think he's still one of the best to do it. There's no doubt about that. He is one of the best still to do it, but I just don't think WWE puts the world championship on AJ Styles again. I really don't. And that's not a detriment to him. I just don't think that WWE sees it that way going forward. That's my view. And I think AEW would absolutely put the world title on AJ Styles. And he fits the mold of their world champions as well. I could see AJ going to AEW. Kevin Owens, I'm not too sure about. AJ Styles, I think, would go to AEW. I think, but part of me also thinks he's probably comfortable in WWE. And I suppose it depends a little bit on ambition for both of these, because both of them are probably, again, I'm not saying this detrimentally, both of them are probably at the back end of their career. Would probably all agree with that. And it would be what they would want to do now. Do they really want to go somewhere and have to reprove themselves again? Or even do they want to have a challenge? Because that's really what it'd be. Or are they just saying, you know what, we're 40 odd years old now. We can't be fucked to deal with all of that again. Let's just stay where we are. It's an interesting conundrum for both wrestlers. I'm not sure if WWE would put any injury time on AJ Styles' contract either. And speaking of injury time and contract added, we will not be seeing the Lucha Brothers in the WWE as a bit of a side route here anytime soon. AEW have rightfully, because they're well within their rights to do it, added time to Rey Fenix's contract due to injury, which is, look, people have been going off about it. WWE do it. So there is, this isn't a, oh, AEW, I've heard it all. Look, they're entitled to add time onto contracts due to injuries, and they've decided to do that. Yes, Ray Phoenix wants to leave and go WWE. Okay, but at the end of the day, you do sign a contract to say, no, you can add time onto me for injuries. So it is what it is. And is it a shot to WWE? Maybe. And maybe they are just doing it because they know he wants to go to WWE. But yeah, and if that means, and the way I'd look at it if I was Ray Phoenix would be, well, okay, I'll sit at home, and they're obviously not going to use him on TV. So Ray Phoenix and Penta basically get time to heal up, get themselves in good shape, and get ready for the WWE. So there's two ways of looking at that. But yeah, don't expect to see them anytime soon. AJ Styles, it's going to be an interesting one, but I am looking forward to it next week or this week to see what happens with AJ Styles back on the blue brand once again. Now, the next match on this, Michin versus Piper Niven. Michin and Piper Niven's with Chelsea Green. No, I can't do it, and I would never try. I've not got the vocal cords, although I did just try and fail miserably. Obviously, they've got their dumpster match this week on SmackDown. But of course, Michin has to get past Piper Niven first. She does so again. She eats to eat defeat, and obviously Chelsea Green does try to get involved, but can't. Or unsuccessfully get involved, shall we say, in this. Michin ducked out of the way of the running cannonball strike, leading to eat defeat for Piper Niven and the 1, 2, 3. Another good women's showcase on SmackDown, of course. Michin for me, I don't care what anybody says, right? She is one of the hardest workers in there, and she should be. I know she's had a title match, but with realistically no build whatsoever. Michin for me, I think deserves a run as women's champ. I really believe it, and I think you know what, I'm all for them having the women's US and the women's Intercontinental title. I am absolutely all for that, and I think WWE should do that. Have like that kind of like what you've got with the men's. You've got the two heavyweight championships. You've got the US and the Intercontinental. You should do exactly the same for the women. I absolutely am all on board with that. In the sense, like I was on board with AEW doing the TBS and the TNT title for the women. WWE need to do it for the women's mid card championships. Definitely. And you know what? And even if AEW decide they were going to add some more women's titles, I think I'd be all for that because they need more. You can't just have two. They've both got stacked rosters now on this. You need to have more than one championship on each show for the women to go for, in my opinion. So, and Michin would probably be my US champion if SmackDown were going to have the United States Women's Championship on their show. I would definitely put Michin as my US champion. Just my opinion, of course. Oh, Naomi as well. There you go. Here's another shout for Naomi. But she does pick up the victory, and she'll go on to next week's dumpster match with Chelsea Green. Now, next week, or say this coming week on SmackDown, it is stacked. Not only do we have the dumpster match between Chelsea Green and Michin, we have the WWE Tag Team Championship triple threat ladder match between DIY, the Street Profits, and the Gorillas of Destiny. Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa. A triple threat women's match on SmackDown. Ladder match for the tag titles. Brilliant. Just before the main event, Naomi did tell Bayley that they're going to run this back after she beats Nia Jax. And then Tiffany Stratton come in and start poking fun at Naomi, which leads Nick Aldis to make Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton on SmackDown this week as well. So the dumpster match, Michin, Chelsea Green, Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi, and the triple threat ladder match for the men's tag team championships. wicked. This week's going to be great on SmackDown. Coincidentally, this week on NXT, CM Punk will be there. It'll be in Chicago. Their debut on the CW network. Expect surprises. I may, and I say the word may, look to review that this week. I'll have to check schedulers. We've got a lot going on this week on the channel, but if I can fit an NXT review on the CW network, I will do. Main event time on SmackDown. Kevin Owens, Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Of course, they had the bloodline. Of course, Cody Rhodes did indeed come out. Of course he did, right? There was lots of stuff going on this. The bottom line of this was that Cody Rhodes got shoved into the referee to prevent them, the Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, from winning. Fatu, after that, hits 2 super kicks on Kevin Owens that allows Solo Sikoa to pick up the victory. Kevin Owens, really annoyed about it, started shoving Rose around the ring. Randy Orton tried to make peacemaker. Kevin Owens did hug Cody as the show goes off the air. Good friends, better enemies, seemingly the right word this week for an action-packed episode of SmackDown as we head into Bad Blood this coming Saturday. Guys, don't forget, this coming week on the show, Raw review, Dynamite review, NWA, hopefully. We don't know about what channel that's going to be on and all this jazz yet. So Gary Joe will be back to do our overview at the weekend of AEW. It's great to have Gary Joe coming on our show weekly to offer a really good insight into AEW, especially as he's obviously interviewing the main man himself, Tony Khan, coming up very, very soon as well. On top of all of that, SmackDown review as well. We will get that out next before I head off on my holidays, but that's not going to stop me next week from bringing you some interviews as well as review shows, and including interviews coming up this week. We sit down with former NWA talent Psycho Boy Fodder, the husband of Angelina Love, to find out what he's up to this week. We also sit down with Joe Kazana from Joe Kazana Promotions, NWA legend, legendary promoter as well, and the father of the country gentleman. And on this coming week, we also record the episode with Vince Russo. Ask Vince anything apart from Jim Cornette. I have to have that. We are not dealing with Jim Cornette. And in all seriousness, the reason why we're not going to ask him about Jim Cornette is it's a story that's gone beyond the ring and become personal. And I'm not willing to have that conversation with Vince. And I don't want to make that conversation uncomfortable. Vince will give us answers to questions about wrestling, which I think is exactly what we need from him. And to follow us, guys, girls, and children, and whoever else decides to listen to us, go to HTT Buckle on Twitter or X. Go to HTT Buckle on YouTube. Go to HTT Buckle on TikTok and Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram. You'll find all of our stuff there. You'll see all what's coming up, some pictures, some events we're going at. We are going to a few wrestling events coming up over the coming weeks, which we will share with you on those platforms. So go and check us out there. Please do come back for some more. I'll be back tomorrow with the Raw review, as it's Monday here. In all seriousness, guys, over in America, I hope you're staying safe. If you're in the vicinity of all the floods and the hurricanes, please do take good care of yourself and everybody around you and all your families. We wish them really well. But until next time, everybody, this has been the SmackDown review on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast with me, the front man, Adam Cousins. Please buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.